One of the most original spirits of our time, Buckminster Fuller, sings of man's potency. Everyone aware of his work agrees that Buckminster Fuller is one of the original minds of our time.
I was born in the era of the specialist, and I set about to be purposefully comprehensive, just the opposite. And I made up my mind that you don't just find out something to entertain yourself, you must find out things in order to be able to turn everything, not just in a philosophical statement, but into actually tools. I must reorganize the environment of man, by which then greater numbers of men can prosper. That's been my main undertaking.
We can turn this tape, there's no problem. There's so many questions to ask you, Mr. Fuller.
You call me Bucky.
Bucky.
I was married in World War I. Our first child was born, and she caught the spinal meningitis and infantile paralysis. It was an awful struggle where this child lived to just before her 4th birthday, and she died in November 1922. So for 5 years I was feeling really horribly sad about this kid. I felt that if the kind of technology that went into making a battleship and an airplane and guns had gone into, I'm sure this child had caught these things out of the environment, and I was sure that there's something wrong about our environment. In the Navy I learned how to navigate, I used mathematics very powerfully. I learned how to calculate. I was sure things were just not being done in logical ways. In 1927, our second child was born. At that time, I had suddenly a new child after 5 years going without that little girl we love so much. I said, I've got a chance now to look out for this new life, and I'm going to have to really rethink everything I have. I had absolutely no money, and suddenly this new child, and everybody tells you got to earn a living. I said, I think this is an absolute blinding thing. I'm either going to say you go out to make money or you're going to make sense. I recall in Chicago wheeling my little child in her baby carriage in Lincoln Park. I was amazed because a little biplane went over Lincoln Park. Airplanes were not very common in those days. I said, isn't it amazing? Here's my child looking up at that airplane, and that airplane in the sky is as natural to her as a bird, because when I was born, the airplane did not exist. It was really sort of the beginning of impossible things happening. I began to feel for what really needs to be done the very biggest way. Well, I found that I couldn't improve an airplane very much. I'm not going to improve the electronics very much. There are a great many people preoccupied with that. Where man was living, he was really very ignorant. It's where people live that need attention. And I saw that the way in which we built was very, very ignorant. When you build a boat, it's got to float. So you learn to do a whole lot with little. It's got to be strong enough not to sink. It's got to carry a cargo. The world of building on the land was very different from the sea and the sky. So I saw, why was the difference? Because man used to build fortresses, and the heavier and higher, the thicker the walls, the more secure it felt.
Some people think of the house as a fortress rather than a place to live.
So I'm going to see what happens if I will take the kind of technology that's going on in the sea and the sky and apply it over to the land.
So many things to ask you, Bucky, that you have foreseen. Thinking of a geodesic dome, do you see actually roofed cities ever?
We're continually doing more with less, and my geodesic domes do a very great deal with very little. But I think they're only symptomatic studs, and I wouldn't be surprised if we found ways to control that environment over the city without even seeing the roof there. There'd be an electrical field control, and so we could make the water go and dump over here and pipe it there and so forth, whatever it may be.
It seems that Buckminster Fuller speaks outrageously, and yet you've come up with so many outrageous explanations that turn out to be right and accurate and true and practical.
Time and again I am asked, who else do you know who thinks the way you do or does what you do? And I find it very strange to have to answer, I don't know anybody else, simply because I really did choose a very different grand strategy, and not because I think that I have capabilities other human beings don't have.
We have one more sweet story from Buckminster Fuller coming up, but first we'd like to thank our sponsors. Support for this series comes from Squarespace. It's the all-in-one platform where it's easy to create a website, portfolio, blog, or online store. With modern templates, simple drag-and-drop tools, and 24/7 support, you can build a professional website in minutes. Look at the cool site we built on Squarespace for the experimenters. For a 14-day trial and a special offer on your first purchase, go to squarespace.com/blank on blank. Support for this series also comes from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, enhancing public understanding of science, technology, and economic performance. More information on Sloan at sloan.org. Now, here's more from Bucky.
My daughter, I was wheeling the baby carriage, who had an airplane as normal in her sky, now has her daughter. And that daughter was born in New York. It was right in the flight path for the flights out of LaGuardia and Idlewild. And this little child then, in her crib, would hear this airplane go, and so she saw many thousands of airplanes before she ever saw a bird. I saw the children's books that were sent to her, which were the same kind of children's book that was sent to me when I was a child. So they were farmyard, there was the barn and all the nice natural things that a child would see, the horse and the pig and the cow and the goat, sheep, rooster. My granddaughter in New York City looked out the window and saw those airplanes, and she saw the automobiles going by the millions. But when they gave her this farm book, she'd never seen a sheep or a cow or thing. And as if you gave her these imaginary pictures of dragons and things, and she was very accommodating about it. She laughed about it, very amusing. But they weren't natural to her.